when we talk about this here, it said if we are successful in this inferior situation, there's no limitation to our potentials in the outside world, right? So they was
Right.
trying to get us mentally, physically, emotionally, spiritually, educationally, economically, politically, and socially prepared to come out and to deal with what was going on in Black America during the 1980s, right?
Facts.
What happened?
Ooh, that's a trick question because a lot of things happen. One of the things that happened was we lost sight of Black America, and we chose to fight for acceptance in Euro America. I'm not going to say America in general because
So are we talking about elite America, the elites?
exactly
Okay, so we're
that's what
talking
we're
about the
going with.
elites.
Yes, because truth be told, if we're going to be honest, you had, oh boy, America finna be mad at me, but it's finna happen. When the Eurocentric people first came over here, right? There were already the Asiatic or original people here.
True, that's facts.
Okay. They chose to get rid of the original or Asiatic people for their own governmental reign.
Okay, so it's where slavery come in at.
Exactly.
Okay, chattel slavery. Okay, so now I'm following that.
All right. But here's the concept behind that. Because in dealing with that level of slavery, we have to recognize that they didn't have the power to control us as the narrative has been painted.
So now let me say this.
Uh-huh.
One of the networkers said when the war on drugs was created, there was actually no drug problems in the low income communities across America.
Oh, there really wasn't
Okay,
at
because
all.
okay, it's cause now let's get down to the big time drug dealers that was around during the 60s and the 70s, right?
Let's go. This is
Let's
the
get
part I'm waiting on.
let's get down to the Melvin Williams, the Fluky Stokes, the
Fact,
Nicky Barnes,
facts.
what's the other brother name that Nick told on? He just got out of prison, man. He was just in federal prison with me, man.
Guy Fisher.
Guy Fisher did the one used to kick it
Fact.
with
The council.
yeah, right. So you had all them, right? But
Yes.
here was the thing with the drugs, because you had CC Chuck in Chicago, you had CW in Chicago, you had a lot of major, you had Sticks, you had a lot of major drug dealers that was in Chicago, all over the United States, right?
Right?
Not just Chicago, but all over the United States.
Yes. To
But
support the
it was,
Iran-Contra situation.
but now this was before Iran Contra. We talking
Uh-huh.
about the 60s and the 70s. But
Let's
the
go.
but the drugs were concentrated.
Uh-huh.
The youth wasn't exposed to the drugs the way it became readily accessible during the 80s and the 90s. See, drugs became readily accessible during that time period, during the 80s and the 90s. In the 70s, it was concentrated, whereas
Uh-huh.
though the youth wasn't exposed to the drugs the way they are being exposed to the drugs in the 80s and the 90s. You see what I'm saying?
Now,
'Cause-
now let's get into that.
yes, sir.
Because in the 80s and the 90s, the introduction of drugs was more business as it was personal, you know what I'm saying, finance.
Now,
And I'm going to say it respectfully, and whatever the U.S. government feel what they feel. Go back to the 80s with Freeway Rick Ross, right? And various other individuals that got caught up in that. They were moving drugs according to what the U.S. needed for their own personal gain and financial benefit.
okay.
Now, with that being said, in this day and time, it's no longer about that.
What
In
was it
this
about?
day and time, it's about financial gain and personal prosperity.
Now watch this here. Well,
Let's go.
by you being right there,
Uh-huh.
one of the networkers said they created the problem and found a solution to profit off of by creating prison for profit.
Facts.
So now you come with the new Jim Crow.
There you
Because
go.
they use the drugs, they use crime, they use the Joe Biden. Let's not forget about Joe Biden now. He was part of that.
He made the law.
There you go.
Himself, personally, he wrote it.
Because he was the head of what? He was the head of the Senate Judiciary Committee at that time.
Facts.
Okay, so in order for that bill to get through, it had to go through where? The Senate Judiciary Committee, right?
Indeed.
And Joe Biden and the rest of his partners, they pushed it through, right?
Yep.
And then 1994 crime bill came out, right? See, because Joe Biden was part of the 1984 prison reform bill too.
That's true.
With Tip O'Neill was heading up the House of Representatives. Tip O'Neill was out of Illinois. So they pushed the 100 to 1 1984 crime bill through, where Bob Dole was the head of the Senate Judiciary Committee at that time, I believe, the Republican.
Yep.
So they pushed it through. Then come 1994, when Bill Clinton come in, and Biden helped push that through because he was the head of the Senate Judiciary Committee.
That's
All right.
fact.
So now, by them pushing it, the 94 crime bill. You right, my brother. One of the networkers said the 94 crime bill. You're absolutely correct. And that bill stopped the federal habeas, because in federal prison at that time, you could file habeas, not only in federal prison, but period. You could file as many habeas corpus as you wanted to.
That's fact.
Bill Clinton came through. They chopped it down to one time. You got one shot, one kill. Prisons swelled up under Reagan, Bush, Clinton, Bush.
Fact.
These laws came through. Booker come through. A lot of people start getting released from. Some people start getting released from prison. Then in 2018, Trump signed the First Step Act.
Yep.
That opened up the door. Start letting more people out. That's why you see all these brothers coming home now. All the brothers a lot of the people that was caught up in the 80s, the 90s, early 2000s, they start coming out now. These were the ones that out here that was really during this time now. Let's keep it on the 100. During this time, we're talking about around the country now. A lot of these men and women that's coming out of prison now, these were the ones that was keeping things intact during that time period before they got caught up in these drug conspiracies.
Facts.
The new concept was preparing us for this here, man. But we wasn't ready. We wasn't ready to accept or to absorb what was being given to us. We wasn't ready. So now, I have to ask this question.
Tell me.
In the pre-faced second resurrection, it says, now a new day is upon us, the second resurrection. A new word is being given by the governing body that must be followed. The acceleration of all our members coming into total compliance within the organization will be a must.
Mm-hmm.
So it will be a must.
Total compliance, right?
Total compliance. So if it's going to be total compliance and it's a must, that means everything that surrounds true growth and development is a must.
Yes.
So how is it that we are 41 years into the making of the new concept and we still don't understand the basics of what the new concept is about.
Okay, so being as you asked that question, right? The reality is a lot of us don't understand the history.
Break it
And when I
down.
say the history, let it be understood that I'm saying from events that transpired from 1969 through 1981.
Okay.
From 1981 through 1995. 1995 through 2010, maybe 8.
Okay.
See, all these
So you're
factors play
talking
a
about
part.
4 separate time periods then.
Facts.
Okay. Okay. I'm listening.
So until we deal with those time frames specifically, based on what transpired in those time frames, we're gonna always have this problem.
Okay. So let's go back to this here then.
Let's
We
go.
talk about time frames, right? We go down to the 3rd paragraph in the preface. It says, in the process of going from the old to the new, we will have a few complications. It must be understood from the outset that we are not forgetting our past. As some of you know, we have had good moments as well as bad moments in the past. We're putting our past where it belongs, behind us. Our past will serve as a motivating force that will enable us to have a glorious future. It's a necessity that we go through changes. You're either growing or dying. To stand still is to die. Our leadership has decided that we will live and flourish into something great. So, the leadership was saying in 1981, put your past where it belongs, behind you. We on
Facts.
something new. So,
Indeed.
my question to you, why do we have to deal with those first 2 time periods?